My wife put on a dress so tight it could have been painted on. She called it an invitation-only event. I called it a Tuesday. "Nate, I have this exclusive party tonight," Vanessa said, adjusting her red dress in our bedroom mirror. The fabric hugged every curve like it was afraid of losing her. "It's Grant's thing. You know how these corporate events are, boring executive stuff. You shouldn't be there." I watched from the doorway, coffee mug in hand, studying her face in the reflection. After 15 years of marriage, you learn to read the micro-expressions, the way her left eyebrow twitched when she lied, the nervous habit of touching her earring when she was hiding something. Both tells were firing like Christmas lights. "I understand," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. What I understood was that my wife had been screwing her boss for 3 months, and tonight's party was probably their coming-out celebration. Vanessa spun around, looking relieved. Too relieved. "Really? You're not going to make this difficult?" "When have I ever made things difficult for you?" I asked, which was a loaded question considering I'd been a private investigator for 8 years before switching to freelance journalism. Making things difficult was literally my professional specialty. She kissed my cheek, a quick, guilty peck, and grabbed her purse. "You're the best, Nate. I'll be home late. Don't wait up." I followed her to the driveway and watched her climb into her BMW. The engine purred to life, and she backed out without looking at me again. I stood there until her taillights disappeared around the corner, then pulled out my phone and dialed Leo. "It's time," I said when he answered. "You sure about this, man?" Leo Martinez had been my best friend since college and my tech support for the past decade. He knew exactly what tonight meant. "She just left for Grant Dalton's party, told me I shouldn't be there." I walked back into the house, already mentally reviewing the evidence we'd compiled. "I think it's time I crashed their little celebration." "The photos are ready," Leo said. Hotel receipts, calendar overlaps, the recovered text messages from her cloud backup. Everything's organized in the folder marked Operation Karma. 3 months ago, I'd noticed the changes. Vanessa working late more often, new lingerie appearing in her drawer, phone calls that ended abruptly when I entered the room, the classic signs that every cheated-on spouse recognizes too late. But I wasn't every spouse. I was Nate Bishop, former investigative journalist, current freelance private investigator, and I'd been building a case against my wife like she was a corrupt politician. The evidence was damning. Hotel receipts charged to her company card, always on the same nights Grant Dalton had business trips. Text messages recovered from her automatically synced cloud backup, full of inside jokes and pet names that made my stomach turn. Calendar appointments that mysteriously aligned with Grant's schedule, down to the minute. My favorite piece of evidence was a voice memo she'd accidentally recorded while her phone was in her purse. 15 minutes of pillow talk between her and Grant, including his charming observation that I was too boring to ever figure it out, and her giggling agreement that I was completely clueless. Clueless. Right. I opened my laptop and reviewed the surveillance photos one more time. Leo had helped me set up a camera in the parking garage of Grant's office building. The images were crystal clear. Vanessa and Grant embracing between cars, sharing hotel key cards, his hand on her ass while she laughed at something he whispered in her ear. But the real goldmine was what I'd discovered about Grant Dalton himself. The man was a serial cheater with a pattern. He maintained a rotation of subordinates, usually 3 at a time, cycling them through his bed like a corporate org chart. Vanessa was just his newest acquisition. His wife, Miranda Dalton, was about to become my new best friend. Grant Dalton's mansion sat on 5 acres in the most exclusive part of town, the kind of place where the driveways cost more than most people's houses. I pulled up to the gate at exactly 7 p.m., 1 hour after Vanessa had left for the party. Miranda Dalton answered the door herself, which surprised me. She was elegant in that old money way, silver hair perfectly styled, wearing a black cocktail dress that probably cost more than my car. "Mrs. Dalton, I'm Nate Bishop. We need to talk." Her expression didn't change, but I caught the slight tightening around her eyes. "Mr. Bishop, Vanessa's husband. You know who I am. I know exactly who you are. She stepped aside to let me in. I've been expecting this conversation for weeks. The foyer was bigger than my living room, with marble floors and a chandelier that looked like it belonged in a museum. Miranda led me to a sitting room that screamed money. Leather furniture, original oil paintings, books that looked like they'd actually been read. Drink? She offered. Whiskey, if you have it. She poured 2 glasses from a crystal decanter and handed me one. You're here because you know about your wife and my husband. I'm here because I have something you'll want to see. I pulled out my phone and opened the photo gallery. It's not pornography, but it'll make your evening interesting. I showed her the parking garage photos first. Miranda's mask of polite composure slipped just slightly as she scrolled through the images. Her husband's hands on my wife's body. Their mouths pressed together between luxury cars. The hotel keycard exchange that looked like a drug deal. There's more, I said, pulling out the printed hotel receipts. 3 months' worth of company credit card charges. Always the same hotel, always the same nights. Miranda set down her whiskey glass with deliberate care. How long have you known? I suspected for months. I've had proof for 3 weeks. I leaned forward. The question is, what do we do about it? We, her eyebrow arched in perfect aristocratic disdain. Mrs. Dalton, your husband has been cheating on you with at least 3 different women from his company. My wife is just the newest member of his rotation. I figure we both have reasons to want them exposed. Miranda walked to the window overlooking the garden. In the distance, I could see the lights and hear the music from the party happening in the mansion's ballroom wing. Grant thinks he's untouchable, she said finally. 22 years of marriage, and he's been conducting these little affairs for at least 10 of them. Always subordinates. Always women who need his approval for their careers. Always women who can't fight back without losing their jobs. Exactly. She turned back to me. What did you have in mind? I pulled out the voice recording on my phone. Your husband and my wife discussing how clueless I am. Recorded accidentally 3 days ago. Want to hear it? Miranda's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. Play it. Grant's voice filled the room, smug and satisfied. The poor bastard has no idea. Vanessa could probably bring me home for dinner and he'd just ask about my golf game. Vanessa's laughter was like nails on a chalkboard. Nate's completely oblivious. He thinks I'm working late when I'm with you. It's almost too easy. Does he suspect anything? Nothing. He's too boring to even imagine his wife could want someone exciting. Miranda's jaw tightened with each word. When the recording ended, she was gripping her whiskey glass like she wanted to throw it. They're having their little celebration tonight, I said. All of Grant's employees, the board members, the country club set. Everyone who matters in his professional and social circle. Everyone who needs to know what kind of man they're dealing with. Exactly. I finished my whiskey. I was thinking it might be nice if the wronged spouses showed up to congratulate them. Miranda's smile turned predatory. As guests of honor, you mean? I like the way you think. She walked to an antique desk and pulled out an engraved invitation. Grant always orders extras for these events. I'm sure I can find you a +1. What about you? Won't Grant wonder why you're suddenly interested in his corporate parties? Oh, I'll tell him I've decided to be more supportive of his career. Her laugh was cold. After all, a wife should take interest in her husband's extracurricular activities. We spent the next hour planning our entrance. Miranda knew the guest list, the schedule, the layout of the ballroom. She knew exactly when Grant would give his traditional toast and exactly when the microphone would be available for surprise announcements. There's something else you should know, Miranda said as I prepared to leave. Your wife isn't the only one there tonight. Grant's other 2 current interests are also on the guest list. Sarah from marketing and Jennifer from HR. A reunion party. More like a finale. Miranda handed me the invitation. Shall we say 8:30? Grant gives his toast at 9. I shook her hand. Her grip was firm, her smile genuine for the first time all evening. Mrs. Dalton, this is going to be a night to remember. Please call me Miranda. And Mr. Bishop. I think we're going to be very good friends. At 8:30 sharp, I pulled into the circular driveway of the Dalton mansion. Valets in white jackets directed luxury cars toward the parking area, and guests in evening wear strolled toward the ballroom entrance. I'd changed into my best suit, the charcoal gray one I'd worn to my wedding, and carried myself like I belonged there. Miranda met me at the door, stunning in a silver gown that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. She'd transformed from the quietly furious wife I'd met 2 hours earlier into the perfect society hostess. "Darling," she said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear, "I'm so glad you could make it." She took my arm and guided me through the crowd. The ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the garden. A jazz quartet played in one corner, while uniformed servers circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. "There," Miranda murmured, nodding toward the far end of the room. "Your wife is by the bar." Vanessa stood in a cluster of Grant's employees, her red dress even more striking under the chandelier light. She was laughing at something Grant was saying, her hand resting possessively on his arm. The sight of them together, so casual and comfortable, sent a spike of anger through my chest. "And there are his other 2 girlfriends," Miranda continued. "Sarah in the blue dress by the windows, Jennifer in black near the appetizer table." I studied the room, noting the positions of board members, executives, and social climbers. Everyone who mattered in Grant's world was here, phones in hand, ready to capture and share every moment of the evening. "The microphone system is wireless," Miranda explained. "Grant will give his toast in about 20 minutes. The mic will be on the small stage near the piano." "What about security?" "2 men by the exits, but they're more for show than actual protection. This is a social event, not a fortress." We moved through the crowd, Miranda introducing me as her dear friend from the art community. No one questioned my presence. In this world, Miranda Dalton's endorsement was enough to open any door. I watched Vanessa across the room, studying her body language. She was in full performance mode, charming and vivacious, playing the role of Grant's devoted employee. Every few minutes, she'd touch his arm or lean in to whisper something that made him smile. "She's good at this," Miranda observed, "the corporate mistress routine. She's had practice. This isn't her first affair." Miranda raised an eyebrow. "Really? 2 years ago, she had a 6-month thing with a client. I found out, we went to counseling. She promised it would never happen again." I accepted a glass of champagne from a passing server. "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice." "Shame on them," Miranda finished. "Both of them." At exactly 9 p.m., Grant Dalton stepped onto the small stage and tapped the microphone. The crowd gradually quieted, turning their attention to their host. Grant looked every inch the successful CEO, silver hair perfectly styled, expensive tuxedo, confident smile that had probably closed 1,000 deals. "Friends, colleagues, honored guests," he began, his voice carrying easily through the sound system. "Thank you for joining Miranda and me tonight for what has become an annual tradition." I tuned out his speech, focusing instead on the positioning of the microphone stand and the crowd's attention. Everyone was looking at Grant, phones recording his remarks, completely absorbed in his performance. Vanessa stood near the front, gazing up at him with obvious admiration. Sarah and Jennifer flanked her on either side, all 3 women hanging on their boss's every word like devoted disciples. "And so I'd like to propose a toast," Grant concluded, raising his champagne glass. "To success, to friendship, and to the future we're building together." The crowd raised their glasses and drank. Grant smiled and stepped away from the microphone, but didn't leave the stage. He was basking in the applause, soaking up the admiration. Perfect. I moved through the crowd toward the stage, Miranda beside me. Vanessa was still near the front, her back to us, completely focused on Grant. The music had resumed, and conversations were starting up again. I climbed the 3 steps to the stage and walked directly to the microphone. Grant saw me coming and frowned, probably trying to place my face. By the time he realized I wasn't supposed to be there, I was already at the mic. "Excuse me," I said, and my voice carried through the ballroom like a gunshot. The crowd turned toward the stage. Conversations died. The jazz quartet trailed off in confusion. Vanessa's face appeared in the crowd, and I watched the color drain from her cheeks. Her champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor. "I'm Nate Bishop," I said into the sudden silence. "I wasn't on the original guest list, but I'm definitely on the receipts." Grant stepped toward me, his face flushed with anger. "What the hell do you think you're—" "I'm Vanessa Bishop's husband," I continued, ignoring him. "Some of you may know her. Red dress, works in PR, currently sleeping with your host." The silence in the room was deafening. Phones appeared like magic, everyone suddenly recording. Vanessa stood frozen in the crowd, her mouth open in shock. "I have hotel receipts, credit card statements, and some really interesting text messages," I said conversationally. "Did you know your CEO has been charging his affairs to the company? The Hyatt downtown has been very accommodating. I should probably thank them for their loyalty program." Board members were pushing through the crowd toward the stage. Grant's face had gone from red to purple. Security was moving, but slowly. They weren't sure what kind of threat I represented. "But I'm not the only wronged spouse here tonight," I continued. "Miranda, would you like to say a few words?" Miranda glided onto the stage like she owned it, which technically she did. She took the microphone with the grace of someone born to command attention. "Since we're sharing," she said, her voice carrying perfectly through the ballroom, "I'd like to welcome all 3 of Grant's current mistresses who are with us tonight. Ladies, if you're holding his hotel room key, please raise your hand." The crowd erupted in gasps and whispers. Phones were everywhere now, capturing every moment. Sarah and Jennifer looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. Vanessa was pushing through the crowd toward the exit, but the press of bodies blocked her escape. "Grant has such interesting management techniques," Miranda continued. "He likes to maintain a rotation of subordinates. Keeps things fresh, you understand, and he's so thoughtful. He calls them all by my name during their intimate moments. Isn't that romantic?" Grant lunged for the microphone, but I stepped between him and Miranda. He was bigger than me, but I'd been preparing for this moment for months. I caught his wrist and twisted, using his momentum to spin him away from the mic. "Touch her and I'll break your arm," I said quietly, but the microphone picked it up anyway. Security finally reached the stage, but they hesitated. The crowd was recording everything, and any violence would be captured and shared within minutes. Grant straightened his jacket and tried to salvage his dignity, but it was too late. Board members surrounded him, their faces grim. I could see phones being pulled out, emergency calls being made. The HR director was already on her cell phone, probably with the company's legal department. Miranda handed the microphone back to me. "I think that's enough sharing for one evening." I looked out at the crowd, finding Vanessa's face among the sea of shocked expressions. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks, trapped against the wall by the crowd of guests who were all staring at her. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said into the microphone, "thank you for your attention. Enjoy the rest of your evening." I set the mic back on its stand and walked off the stage with Miranda beside me. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, everyone too stunned to speak. Behind us, I could hear Grant trying to explain himself to the board members, his voice desperate and pleading. As we reached the ballroom exit, I heard Vanessa calling my name. I turned to see her pushing through the crowd, her red dress torn at the shoulder, her carefully styled hair disheveled. "Nate, wait, please, let me explain." I looked at her for a long moment. This woman I'd been married to for 15 years. This stranger who'd been lying to my face for months. Explanation declined, I said. Just like your invitation. Miranda and I walked out into the night, leaving behind the chaos we'd created. In the distance, I could hear car engines starting as guests began their hurried departures, all of them eager to spread the gossip to anyone who hadn't witnessed it firsthand. My phone was already buzzing with notifications. The videos were going viral. I drove home alone, leaving Miranda to deal with the aftermath at her mansion. My phone rang constantly during the 20-minute drive, Vanessa calling over and over, each call going straight to voicemail. I'd blocked her number 3 days ago, right after I'd heard that voice recording of her laughing about how clueless I was. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. I'd left a single lamp on in the living room, and it cast a warm glow through the front window. Our house, my house now, looked peaceful and normal, like the interior of a snow globe before someone shakes it up. I'd been busy during the 3 hours between leaving for Miranda's and going to the party. Leo had helped me change the locks, and a locksmith I'd hired had installed new deadbolts on both the front and back doors. Vanessa's belongings, 3 suitcases worth of clothes, shoes, and personal items, sat neatly stacked on the front porch. Inside, the house felt different. Lighter somehow. I'd removed her pictures from the walls, boxed up her books, cleared her toiletries from the bathroom. 15 years of shared life, reduced to 3 suitcases and a storage box in the garage. I poured myself a scotch and sat in my leather recliner, the one Vanessa had always complained was too ugly for the living room. My laptop was open on the coffee table, showing the divorce papers I'd filed electronically 3 hours earlier. The process server would deliver copies to Vanessa tomorrow, but the legal wheels were already in motion. My phone buzzed with a text from Leo. "Dude, you're all over social media. Cheating wife is trending. How do you feel?" "Like I just took out the trash," I texted back. The bank called. "Joint accounts are frozen per your request. Credit cards, too." I'd spent months preparing for this moment, moving money into accounts Vanessa didn't know about, documenting every shared asset, consulting with the best divorce attorney in the city. She'd been planning her affair. I'd been planning her exile. At 11:30, headlights swept across my front window. Vanessa's BMW pulled into the driveway, and I watched through the curtains as she sat in her car for several minutes, probably working up the courage to face me. She finally got out and walked to the front door, her red dress wrinkled and stained, her hair a mess. She tried her key first, jiggling it in the lock that no longer recognized it. Then she knocked. "Nate, I know you're in there. Please, we need to talk." I took another sip of scotch and didn't move. "Nate, please. I can explain everything. It's not what you think." Through the window, I could see Mrs. Patterson from next door peeking through her curtains. The whole neighborhood would be talking about this by morning, but I didn't care. Let them talk. I had nothing to hide. "I made a mistake," Vanessa called through the door. "It was stupid, and I'm sorry, but we can work through this. We can go to counseling again." I walked to the front door and spoke through the wood. "Your things are on the porch. Divorce papers will be served tomorrow. Joint accounts are frozen. Credit cards are canceled. You can't do this. This is my house, too. Check the deed. It's in my name only. I bought it before we got married, remember?" I heard her trying the door handle, then the sound of her heels clicking on the porch as she found her suitcases. "Where am I supposed to go?" Her voice was muffled, like she was crying. "That's not my problem anymore." My phone rang. Vanessa calling from right outside my door. I declined the call and poured another scotch. She pounded on the door for another 10 minutes, alternating between pleading and threats before finally giving up. I watched her load the suitcases into her BMW and drive away, her taillights disappearing into the night just like they had 8 hours earlier, but this time she wouldn't be coming back. I was finishing my scotch when headlights appeared in my driveway again. For a moment, I thought Vanessa had returned, but this was a different car, a blue Honda Civic that belonged to Lisa Chen, my next-door neighbor. Lisa was a nurse at the county hospital, recently divorced herself, with 2 kids who spent weekends with their father. We'd been friendly neighbors for 3 years, sharing the occasional conversation over the fence, but nothing more. Until tonight. I opened the door before she could knock. She stood on my porch holding a bottle of wine and wearing jeans and a sweater that hugged her curves in all the right places. "I saw the show," she said. "Figured you might need some company." "Lisa, I also saw your wife's meltdown on the front porch. The whole neighborhood heard it." She held up the wine bottle. "I brought reinforcements." I stepped aside to let her in. Lisa had been inside my house before. Neighborhood barbecues, borrowing tools, the usual suburban interactions, but this felt different, intimate. "I saw the videos," she said, settling onto my couch. "Half the town is sharing them. Your wife and her boss are famous. Good famous or bad famous? Depends on your perspective. For them, career-ending famous." She opened the wine with the corkscrew I handed her. "For you, badass husband famous." We sat together on the couch, drinking wine and watching the social media explosion on my laptop. The videos from the party were everywhere: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Cheating wife and corporate affair were both trending. Local news stations had already picked up the story. "Grant Dalton's career is over," Lisa observed, scrolling through the comments. "The board will have to fire him. No company can survive this kind of scandal." "And Vanessa? PR executive caught an affair with married boss. She'll never work in this town again." Lisa looked at me over her wine glass. "How long did you know?" "Suspected for months, had proof for weeks." I told her about the investigation, the evidence gathering, the alliance with Miranda. Lisa listened without judgment, nodding in all the right places. "You're not the same person I thought you were," she said when I finished. "What do you mean?" "I always saw you as the quiet guy next door, nice but kind of passive. This was anything but passive. I spent 15 years being passive. Look where it got me." Lisa set down her wine glass and turned to face me fully. "Your wife was an idiot." "Why?" "Because she had you, and she threw it away for some corporate asshole who was cheating on his wife with multiple women." Lisa's voice was soft, but firm. "If I had a husband like you." She didn't finish the sentence, but she didn't need to. The implication hung in the air between us, like a question mark. "Lisa, I know the timing is terrible. I know you just blew up your marriage tonight. But I've been watching you for 3 years, Nate. The way you take care of your house. The way you helped me move my furniture when David left. The way you always ask about my kids." She reached out and touched my hand. "You're a good man. Your wife never deserved you." I looked at this woman sitting in my living room, this neighbor who'd become something more without either of us planning it. Lisa was beautiful in a natural way. No makeup, her black hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, brown eyes that seemed to see right through me. "Stay," I said. She smiled. "I was hoping you'd ask." I woke up at 7 a.m. to the sound of trucks in my driveway. Lisa was still asleep beside me, her hair spread across my pillow like black silk. I slipped out of bed carefully and looked through the bedroom window. 3 news vans were parked on the street, their satellite dishes extended like mechanical flowers reaching for the sky. Reporters and camera crews were setting up on my front lawn, and my phone was buzzing with calls from numbers I didn't recognize. "What's happening?" Lisa asked sleepily. "We're famous." She joined me at the window, wrapping my bathrobe around herself. "Oh my God, how did they find you so fast?" "Social media. Someone at the party posted our address along with the videos." I pulled on jeans and a t-shirt. "I need to get you out of here before they see you." "Why?" "Because you don't deserve to be part of this circus." Lisa grabbed my arm. "Nate, I'm a divorced mother of 2 who works double shifts at the hospital. I can handle some reporters." My phone rang. Leo calling with an update. "Dude, you need to see the morning news," he said without preamble. Grant Dalton was fired an hour ago. Emergency board meeting at 6 a.m. They released a statement about conduct unbecoming and violation of company policies. What about Vanessa? Terminated for cause. Security escorted her out of the building this morning. Apparently, she tried to clean out her office before anyone got there, but HR was waiting for her. I walked to the living room and turned on the television. The local morning show was leading with the story. Corporate affair scandal rocks local business community. They showed clips from the party videos, carefully blurred, but still recognizable. The fallout continues this morning, the anchor was saying, as Dalton Industries announces the termination of CEO Grant Dalton following revelations of multiple affairs with subordinates. They cut to footage of Grant leaving his office building, surrounded by reporters shouting questions. He looked haggard and desperate, nothing like the confident executive who'd given the toast last night. Sources close to the company say the board had been investigating allegations of inappropriate relationships for several weeks, the anchor continued. The public revelation at last night's charity gala forced their hand. Lisa squeezed my shoulder. You did this. You brought down a corrupt CEO and exposed a serial cheater. You should be proud. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. You destroyed my life. V. I showed the message to Lisa, who rolled her eyes. She destroyed her own life. You just provided the spotlight. At 8 a.m., I heard a car door slam in my driveway. Through the window, I saw Vanessa getting out of her BMW, marching toward my front door with determination. She looked terrible, same red dress from last night, now wrinkled and stained, her hair unwashed, makeup smeared. The reporters noticed her immediately. Cameras swung in her direction, and I could hear them shouting questions. Mrs. Bishop, how long was the affair going on? Did you know your husband was investigating you? What's your response to the allegations? Vanessa ignored them and pounded on my front door. Nate, open this door right now, we need to talk. I opened the door but left the chain latch engaged, creating a gap just wide enough to speak through. Behind Vanessa, reporters were recording everything, their cameras capturing her disheveled appearance and desperate demeanor. You need to leave, I said calmly. You can't do this to me. I have nowhere to go. My parents won't answer their phone, my friends won't return my calls, and you've frozen all our accounts. Your accounts? I moved my money months ago. This is insane. You're destroying both our lives over one mistake. One mistake? I laughed, and the sound was bitter. Vanessa, you've been screwing your boss for 3 months. You've charged hotel rooms to your company credit card. You've lied to my face every single day. It didn't mean anything, it was just what? Just fun? Just something to do while your boring husband sat at home waiting for you? The reporters were having a field day, capturing every word of our argument. Vanessa finally noticed the cameras and turned toward them, her face flushing with embarrassment. Stop recording. This is private. Nothing's private anymore, I said through the door gap. You made sure of that when you decided to have your affair in public places with a married man. I need money. I need somewhere to stay. Call Grant. I'm sure he'll be happy to help. Grant won't answer his phone. His wife filed for divorce this morning and cleaned out their joint accounts. Sounds familiar. Vanessa pressed her face against the door gap, and I could see tears streaming down her cheeks. Please, Nate. I'm begging you. I made a mistake, but I'm still your wife. No, I said quietly. You're my ex-wife. You just don't know it yet. I closed the door and turned the deadbolt. Vanessa pounded on the wood for another minute before giving up. Through the window, I watched her face the reporters, trying to maintain some dignity as they shouted questions at her. No comment, she kept saying. This is a private matter. But it wasn't private anymore. Nothing about her life would be private again. Lisa appeared beside me, fully dressed now. I should go. Let you deal with this. Don't go because of her. I'm not. I'm going because I have to work a double shift today, and because you need time to process all this. She kissed my cheek. But I'm not going far. I live next door, remember? I walked her to the back door, away from the reporters. She paused at the threshold and looked back at me. Nate, what you did last night, it was brave and justified. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty about it. After Lisa left, I made coffee and sat in my kitchen, watching the media circus through my window. Vanessa had finally driven away, but the reporters remained, hoping for more drama. My phone rang constantly. Interview requests, friend and family members who'd seen the news, curiosity seekers who'd gotten my number somehow. I let them all go to voicemail. At noon, Leo arrived through my back door, carrying bags of groceries and wearing a grin that stretched from ear to ear. Dude, you're a legend. The videos have been viewed over 2 million times. Someone made a meme out of Grant's face when you took the microphone. He showed me his phone. Grant's expression of shock and horror had been turned into a reaction image with the caption, "When your side chick's husband crashes the party." This isn't funny, Leo. The hell it isn't. You exposed a corrupt CEO and a serial cheater. You did a public service. He started unpacking groceries. Besides, I brought beer and steaks. We're celebrating. Celebrating what? Your freedom, man. Your new life. The fact that you're finally rid of a woman who never appreciated you. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with another text from Vanessa. The hotel kicked me out. My credit cards don't work. I'm sleeping in my car. Please help me. I showed the message to Leo, who shrugged. Not your problem anymore. He was right. For the first time in months, Vanessa's problems weren't my problems. Her crisis wasn't my crisis. Her poor decisions weren't my responsibility to fix. I deleted the message and turned off my phone. Fire up the grill, I told Leo. We're celebrating. 3 days later, I was sitting in my lawyer's office reviewing the divorce settlement when my phone buzzed with a call from Miranda Dalton. Nate, are you watching the news? I grabbed the remote and turned on the television in the lawyer's waiting room. The local news was showing footage of Grant Dalton being escorted from his mansion by sheriff's deputies. What's happening? I asked. Grant tried to access our joint accounts this morning. Apparently, he's been hiding money in offshore accounts for years, and the FBI got interested when the board started their investigation. Miranda's voice was satisfied, almost purring. They're seizing assets as we speak. On screen, investigators were carrying boxes out of the Dalton mansion, while reporters provided breathless commentary about financial crimes and federal charges. It gets better, Miranda continued. 3 more women from his company have come forward with harassment allegations. The district attorney is considering criminal charges. I watched Grant stumble as the deputies guided him toward their car, his expensive suit wrinkled, his silver hair disheveled. He looked nothing like the confident CEO who'd given that toast 3 nights ago. What about Vanessa? Oh, she's having her own problems. Apparently, she's been calling Grant's office non-stop, trying to reach him. His secretary finally told her he'd instructed security not to let her in the building. My lawyer, Patricia Williams, emerged from her office with a stack of papers. She was a shark in a business suit, recommended by 3 divorced friends who'd all gotten excellent settlements. Mr. Bishop, we have a problem, she said. Your wife's attorney called this morning. She's refusing to sign the divorce papers. On what grounds? She wants to contest the asset division. She's claiming you hid money and planned this whole thing as a way to cheat her out of her rightful share. I laughed. Actually laughed, right there in the lawyer's office. She's claiming I cheated her? She's also demanding spousal support and half the value of the house. The house that was mine before we got married? The house that's in my name only? She's arguing that 15 years of marriage gives her an equity claim. Patricia sat down across from me. Don't worry. She doesn't have a case, but she can drag this out for months if she wants to be vindictive. My phone buzzed with a text from Leo. Turn on Channel 7 now. I switched channels and found myself watching footage of Vanessa being interviewed by a reporter in what looked like a hotel parking lot. She was wearing the same clothes I'd seen her in 3 days ago, and she looked desperate. "My husband planned this whole thing," she was saying to the camera. "He set me up, destroyed my career, and now he's trying to steal everything we built together." "But you were having an affair," the reporter pressed. "The evidence seems pretty clear." "I made a mistake, yes, but that doesn't give him the right to ruin my life. He's vindictive and cruel, and he's enjoying watching me suffer." I turned up the volume. Vanessa was in full victim mode, tears streaming down her face as she painted herself as the wronged party. "I have nowhere to go, no money, no job. He's frozen our accounts and changed the locks on our house. I'm living in my car." "Have you tried to reconcile with your husband? He won't even talk to me. He's filed for divorce and he's demanding I sign papers that would leave me with nothing." The interview continued for several more minutes, with Vanessa portraying herself as a woman who'd made one mistake and was being punished far beyond what she deserved. "She's good," Patricia observed, playing the sympathy angle. "Will it work?" "Not in court, but it might work in the court of public opinion." My phone rang, Lisa calling from the hospital. "Are you seeing this interview?" she asked. "Unfortunately, yes. She's making you look like a monster. Some of the people here are actually feeling sorry for her." "Let them. I know the truth." "Nate, there's something else. She showed up at the hospital this morning, asking for me by name. Security had to escort her out." My blood ran cold. "What did she want?" "To talk to me about you. She knows we're involved. She wanted to warn me about what kind of man you really are." "Lisa, don't worry. I told security to ban her from the premises, but she's not giving up." After I hung up, Patricia leaned forward with a serious expression. "Mr. Bishop, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Did you plan this revenge scenario? Did you deliberately gather evidence and orchestrate that public confrontation?" "Yes." "And you documented everything? You have proof of the affair, the financial improprieties, all of it?" "Every detail." Patricia smiled. "Then your wife is about to learn a very expensive lesson about trying to play victim when you have all the evidence." That evening, I was grilling dinner on my back patio when I heard shouting from the front of the house. I walked around the side of the garage and saw Vanessa standing in my driveway, facing off with Lisa, who had just gotten home from work. "You need to know what kind of man you're getting involved with," Vanessa was saying, her voice shrill and desperate. "He's calculating and vindictive. He'll do the same thing to you someday." "The only thing I need to know," Lisa replied calmly, "is that he's not a cheater. I made one mistake. For 3 months, with a married man, using company resources." Lisa's voice remained steady, but I could hear the steel underneath. "That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. He destroyed my life. You destroyed your own life. He just provided the documentation." I stepped out from behind the garage, and both women turned toward me. Vanessa looked terrible. Unwashed hair, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under her eyes. Lisa looked like she'd just finished a 12-hour shift, but was ready for battle. "Vanessa, you need to leave," I said. "I'm not leaving until you agree to be reasonable about the divorce settlement." "I am being reasonable. You get half of everything we acquired during the marriage, minus the house, which was mine before we met." "That's not enough." "It's more than you deserve." Vanessa turned back to Lisa. "He's using you to make me jealous. Once the divorce is final, he'll dump you and move on to someone else." Lisa stepped closer to Vanessa, and I could see the nurse in her taking charge, calm, competent, unimpressed by hysterics. "Let me explain something to you," Lisa said quietly. "I'm a grown woman who makes her own decisions. I don't need your warnings or your advice. What I need is for you to stay away from my house, my workplace, and my life. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You had a good man who loved you, and you threw him away for some excitement with your boss. Now you're facing the consequences of your choices, and you want someone else to blame. Vanessa's face crumpled, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I have nowhere to go, she whispered. That's not our problem, Lisa said firmly. Figure it out. Vanessa looked between us, seeming to finally understand that her pleading and manipulation weren't going to work. She straightened her shoulders and walked back to her car with as much dignity as she could manage. This isn't over, she called back as she drove away. But it was over. The evidence was overwhelming, the public humiliation complete, and the legal proceedings were just a formality now. Grant Dalton was facing federal charges and financial ruin. Vanessa was unemployable in her field and facing a divorce settlement that would leave her with enough to start over but not enough to maintain the lifestyle she'd grown accustomed to. As for me, I was standing in my driveway with a woman who'd seen me at my most ruthless and vindictive and still chose to stand by my side. Are you okay? Lisa asked. I'm perfect, I said, and meant it. 2 weeks later, Vanessa signed the divorce papers. She had no choice. The evidence was too strong, her legal position too weak, and her money running out. The settlement gave her half of our joint savings and investments, but left her with nothing from the house or my business. Grant Dalton was indicted on federal charges related to financial fraud and faces up to 10 years in prison. His wife Miranda got everything in their divorce: the mansion, the investments, the art collection, and most satisfying of all, the social standing that comes with being the wronged party rather than the cheater. The videos from the party are still circulating online, a permanent record of the night two marriages exploded in spectacular fashion. Vanessa has moved to another state, trying to rebuild her career and her reputation. I heard through mutual friends that she's working for a small firm in Phoenix, making a fraction of what she used to earn. As for me, I'm sitting in my backyard on a Saturday morning, drinking coffee and reading the newspaper while Lisa makes pancakes in my kitchen. Her kids are here for the weekend, and they're teaching me how to play some video game that involves building things and fighting monsters. It's a good life, a honest life, a life built on truth instead of lies. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. I hope you're happy. You got your revenge, V. I delete the message without responding and go inside to help with breakfast. Revenge was never the point. Justice was the point.